Everyone looks out and sees that gray sky and says no good for flying, but if you're an instrument student, this is a huge opportunity. And this was a training flight with Josh Wanigal, taking off to the south on 1-4, and the perfect part of this is as soon as you take off a few vectors and you're directly into the ILS 16 down at Binghamton, so not much of a delay, not a lot of turns. And so the ceiling was probably around 2200 here. It was raining, it was close to freezing, but it was about 40 degrees on the surface, and no ice was forecast all the way through 7000. So we had the pitot heat on, and we were obviously watching the temperature probe pretty carefully, but we didn't see any ice throughout the whole flight. And as you can see from the video, the rain is running back and there's really not that much solid stuff. But the plan was Ithaca, Binghamton, Elmira, back over to Ithaca. Pretty much the triangular phase, about lesson 24 in the instrument syllabus for the 141 instrument training. So here we are in the clouds and about over Cornell, talking to Elmira, being switched to Binghamton. And pretty quickly we're on the approach over here at Binghamton, getting vectored outside Owry. And I think you can see the blue light going off there, so we're just about at the final approach fix. And this is hugely valuable for someone that's going to fly in the clouds. You got to do it, you got to learn it, and you got to get confidence. So perfect day for Josh to build up a little bit of skill and confidence. And probably in and out of the clouds, I think we broke out at about minimums are 1806 or something like that, so I think we were around 400 feet on final. And we started with the final and come out of the clouds. And this is something you can't simulate with a hood. You know, the clouds are in and out, you're being distracted by things flying by, and you have to focus on the instruments. Keep your scan going. And somewhere in here we start to break out solid. And so the outside view is a scan item, and when you get a good view of the runway and the VASI and the lights, then you go to visual guidance for the landing. So we did a touch and go, and then we were off on the takeoff. You can see the Doppler radar there at Binghamton as we climbed out on 16. And the procedure is 2100 feet, then a right turn to the VOR. So just about as we're making that right turn to the VOR, we get back. And the trick here is to get the Garmin 430 set up so that it's set for guidance up to the hold, and you unsuspend it so that it draws the line out there. So it's unsuspended, it's on GPS, and it should depict a hold as we approach it. You can see here he's got it set up correctly. The hold was exciting because we had about 40 knots of wind out of the south, and you can see the Garmin depicts the wind correction now, which is fairly handy. But 30 degrees of intercept on the inbound. So after a short while, we're on the ILS 24 into Elmira. Pretty straightforward. And one of the real values of flying in actual IFR is this transition to visual. Many people can't handle this correctly and land well after flying IFR because we've been looking at 18 inches at the panel. So it's essential to look near and far and get a good landing, which Josh did beautifully. And here's taxiing in, and we're seeing the Allegiant jet going to Florida and thinking maybe that's where we should be going. On the way back up to Ithaca, we got the RNAV 14 Zulu and kind of a rainy, scuzzy final down the lake here. You can see the rain is coming down pretty good. And it's a pretty artificial demand of IFR training, but you have to take off and return to the same location. But it turned out okay. We broke out just outside Staten, and you can see the runway. Had a really good landing. And what an amazing trip. In 2 hours, 3 approaches, a hold, a lot of transitions into the clouds, out of the clouds. Perfect IFR training flight for Josh. And that's why you should fly at East Hill Flying Club to learn your instruments. Learn in actual conditions.